Your phone buzzes. Someone in the group chat just said something about someone else. You open it immediately, not because it matters, not because you need this information to survive, just because you have to know. Here's a question almost nobody asks. Why can't you look away from other people's business? Why does drama involving someone you've never even met feel almost impossible to ignore? Turns out, this isn't a modern habit. It's not something social media invented. It's something much, much older. Let's go back about 300,000 years. Picture a small group of people sitting close together at night. No phones, no screens, no group chats, just darkness, low voices, and each other. Listen closely, and you'd hear something surprising. The weather never comes up. Their conversation goes somewhere else entirely. Not tools, not the hunt, not the stars. Most of what you'd hear is about the people around them. Who did what today? Who can be trusted? Who can't? Researchers who study how people actually talk have found something remarkable. Somewhere between 55 and 80% of everyday conversation is about other people. Not objects, not tasks, not facts. People talking about people. And that number barely changes no matter which culture you look at. So here's the real question. Why would evolution build a brain this obsessed with everyone else's business? There's a theory for that, and it starts somewhere you wouldn't expect, with monkeys picking bugs out of a neighbor's fur. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying primates, and he noticed something simple about how they bond. Chimpanzees, baboons, and other primates groom each other. Sitting quietly, working through fur, removing parasites, cleaning skin. It feels good. It builds trust. It's how primate friendships are made. But grooming has a serious weakness. It only connects two individuals. Everyone else has to wait. If your group gets bigger, grooming everyone quickly becomes impossible. At some point, there simply aren't enough hours in the day. Dunbar's idea is simple, and honestly a little brilliant. Language might have evolved as a replacement for that grooming. Your voice works differently. 5 people can hear you at the same time. Grooming could never do that. For the first time, a single voice could reach the whole group at once. That's not just conversation. That's a massive upgrade to how a species stays connected. But gossip did far more than keep the group together. In a small enough group, you can watch everyone yourself. You know who shares food fairly, who lies, who's dangerous when they're angry. You've seen it with your own eyes. But once a group grows past a certain size, that stops being possible. You physically cannot watch 200 people all day, every day. So you needed another way to know who to trust. You needed other people's eyes and their memory. Imagine a hunter who quietly kept the best cut of meat for himself. Nobody official was watching. There was no camera, no report filed anywhere. But somebody noticed. By evening, the story had already been passed along. Next time the meat gets shared, people remember. They act differently. That's not punishment written into any law. That's reputation, built entirely out of conversation. And here's something researchers have found that feels a little uncomfortable. Negative information about people spreads faster and gets remembered longer than positive information. We are wired that way, by nature, to pay closer attention to warnings than to compliments. Long before writing, long before laws, long before any courtroom ever existed, a person's reputation was already being tracked, in real time, by everyone around them. Conversation after conversation. There's a number that keeps showing up in this story, again and again. Anthropologists studied hunter-gatherer societies around the world. What stood out surprised them. Stable communities kept settling around the same size, roughly 150 people. Psychologists now call this Dunbar's number. It's still debated. Some researchers argue the real number is smaller, but the basic pattern holds up surprisingly well, across very different cultures. 150 is roughly the number of people your brain can genuinely track. Who they are, what they've done, whether you'd trust them with something important. Inside that circle, people aren't just names. You actually know them. Beyond it, something quietly breaks down. Centuries passed, villages became towns, towns became cities, and gossip didn't disappear. It just kept finding new shapes to fit into. In medieval market squares, news and rumor traveled together, inseparable. Town criers stood on street corners shouting the day's announcements, official news mixed in with whatever scandal was worth repeating. Then the printing press arrived, and gossip got its first real upgrade in speed. In 16th and 17th century England, cheap little pamphlets called chapbooks sold on street corners. Some carried religious stories or practical advice. A surprising number carried something else entirely. Scandal, rumor, stories about who did what, to whom, and why. It was shocking. Gossip had learned how to print itself and travel faster than any voice ever could. By the 1800s, this had become serious business. In 1845, a New York newspaper started publishing. It was called the National Police Gazette. Soon, it became one of the country's most widely read publications. Crime, scandal, private lives turned into public entertainment. People were paying money specifically to read about strangers' business. Then came radio. And here's a strange little fact most people never think about. The term soap opera exists because of laundry detergent. Companies that made soap sponsored long, dramatic, ongoing radio stories, aimed directly at women at home during the day, full of secrets, betrayals, and relationships falling apart. Information wasn't the point. Soap was. The stories kept people coming back for more. Then came Hollywood. Gossip became more powerful than ever. It was the 1930s and 40s. Two women controlled what America knew about its movie stars: Walter Winchell and Hedda Hopper. A single sentence from either of them could make a career, or quietly end one. Actors were terrified of them. Studios negotiated with them. Careers rose and collapsed on their word. Two newspaper columnists. That much power, built entirely on gossip. Then television arrived, and gossip simply kept adapting. Entire shows built around one incredibly simple idea. People love hearing about people they will never actually meet. And then, something happened that changed the scale completely. The internet didn't just give us more gossip. It broke the one limit that had kept gossip in check for 300,000 years. For almost all of human history, gossip stayed local. You could only talk about people you actually knew, inside a group you could actually see. Then social media arrived, and suddenly, you're not tracking 150 people anymore. You have thousands of usernames, strangers' relationships, strangers' arguments, strangers' private mistakes, playing out live in your notifications. Your brain still runs the exact same ancient program it always has. It still treats this information like it matters for your survival, like knowing it might protect you or someone you care about. But most of the time, you will never meet a single one of these people. Your ancient reputation-tracking brain is running at a new scale now, a scale it was never built for. And here's where the story takes a genuinely strange turn. In 2018, researchers at MIT studied millions of stories shared on Twitter. Their question was simple: does the truth spread faster than a lie? Even they were surprised by the answer. False stories were 70% more likely to be shared than true ones. They reached 1,500 people about 6 times faster than accurate stories did. Why? Their answer came down to a single word: novelty. Something new, shocking, unexpected gets shared faster than something ordinary, and whoever shares it first gets a strange little reward. They suddenly seem important. That reward is ancient. 300,000 years ago, the person with fresh information about the group mattered. People listened when they spoke. Their words carried weight. Attention naturally followed. Today, that same instinct doesn't know the difference between a fact and a rumor. It only reacts. New, important. Share it. You're not weak for feeling that pull. You're running a 300,000-year-old survival tool on a network so large your ancestors couldn't have imagined it. Somewhere, an ancient hunter-gatherer is watching all this, and he's very confused. His concern was much simpler. Could the stranger who just walked into camp be trusted with the last piece of meat? Now picture showing him this, arguing about a stranger's relationship status. Someone we've never met, on the opposite side of the planet. So maybe the real question isn't why we gossip. Maybe it's this: a survival tool built for 150 people, now handed to a species connected to billions. What happens then? We built the technology to reach everyone on Earth, but we're still running on instincts built for a much smaller circle, a circle small enough to actually know every face in it. Maybe that's exactly why modern life feels so loud. So many people to track, so few of them you will ever actually know. Maybe your ancestors weren't so different from you after all. They just gossiped about people they could actually see. Around a fire they had to keep feeding all night long. And maybe, somewhere in all of this, there's a much older, quieter question waiting. What happens to a brain built for constant company when it's finally left with nothing at all? No conversation, no one to watch, just silence. But that is a story for another time.